Most people have no idea that by the time they feel thirsty in summer, they are already behind. Not dangerously so, but behind. And if your body is quietly running low on certain minerals, thirst alone is not enough of a warning signal. The real warning signals come later. Muscle cramps that wake you up at 3 in the morning, a foggy brain that makes you feel half present by mid-afternoon, and a kind of deep fatigue that no amount of sleep seems to fix. These are not just signs of being warm. These are often signs that your electrolytes, the minerals your body needs to move fluid around, fire your nerves, and keep your heart beating properly, are running low. Every time you sweat, you lose them. And in summer, the gap between what your body needs and what most people actually consume gets wider and wider. My name is John. Today, we are walking through 15 of these foods, most of them with deep roots in biblical tradition, and looking at what they actually do for the body and how you can get them into your routine this summer. And as always, this content is not intended as professional medical or nutritional advice. It does not replace any medication or treatment prescribed by a qualified healthcare professional. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making changes to your diet, supplement, or health routine. Food number 1, watermelon juice. If you had to design the perfect summer electrolyte drink from scratch, you would probably end up with something very close to watermelon juice. The fruit is 92% water, but it is not just water. It is water carrying a payload of minerals your body needs precisely when the heat is highest and you are sweating the most. Ancient Egyptians cultivated watermelon and placed it in tombs as provisions for the afterlife, a detail that tells you how highly valued it was as a sustaining and hydrating food. In the biblical world, the Israelites in the desert specifically longed for the melons of Egypt, including what most scholars believe was watermelon, alongside cucumbers and leeks. These were not luxury cravings. They were the body's deep memory of foods that genuinely helped it survive the heat. A generous wedge of watermelon delivers around 320 milligrams of potassium, roughly 28 milligrams of magnesium, and small amounts of calcium and sodium. Potassium is the electrolyte most associated with preventing muscle cramps and keeping your heart rhythm steady. Magnesium, which many older adults are consistently low in, supports over 300 chemical reactions in the body, including muscle relaxation and nerve function. When both drop, the effects show up fast, in your energy, your mood, and the quality of your sleep. Watermelon also contains a compound called lycopene, the pigment that gives it its red color, which has well-documented anti-inflammatory and heart protective properties. Research has linked lycopene-rich diets to a reduced risk of heart disease and certain cancers. For the cardiovascular system in particular, this is meaningful. The combination of potassium, magnesium, and lycopene in one food makes watermelon genuinely unusual in terms of what it offers the heart. Watermelons are closely related to cucumbers and are part of the same plant family mentioned throughout the Old Testament. To make watermelon juice at home, simply cut the flesh away from the rind, remove any seeds, and blend until smooth. You can drink it straight or add a small squeeze of lime and a tiny pinch of sea salt, which adds the sodium component and makes the whole drink behave more like a proper electrolyte replacement. Strain it if you prefer it smooth, or leave the pulp in for the fiber. There is also something to be said for the timing of when you drink it. A large glass of watermelon juice in the mid-morning, before the hottest part of the day, preloads your system with fluid and minerals before you begin losing them heavily. It is a strategy the body appreciates far more than trying to catch up after you are already depleted and symptomatic. One caution: People with kidney disease or those managing high potassium levels should talk to their doctor before increasing their watermelon intake significantly, as the potassium content can be relevant in those cases. Food number 2, pomegranates. There are very few fruits in Scripture that appear as often and as symbolically as the pomegranate. It was carved into the hem of the high priest's robe in Exodus. It decorated the pillars of Solomon's temple. It was listed among the 7 foods of the Promised Land in Deuteronomy, one of only 7 foods that God specifically names when describing the bounty of the land He is bringing His people into. For the people of the ancient Near East, the pomegranate was not just beautiful. It was considered a food of abundance and life. The hundreds of seeds inside each fruit made it a symbol of fertility and provision. But the people eating it were getting something more practical along with the symbolism. Modern nutrition research gives a fairly solid reason for that reverence. A single pomegranate contains around 600 milligrams of potassium, more than a medium banana, and a remarkable amount for a single fruit. In juice form, a standard serving delivers over 500 milligrams of potassium, alongside meaningful quantities of folate and vitamin K. That potassium load matters enormously for blood pressure regulation, for keeping the heart beating with a proper rhythm, and for offsetting the effects of sodium in the diet. Pomegranates are also extraordinarily rich in antioxidant compounds, particularly a group called punicalagins, which are unique to pomegranates and have been shown in multiple studies to reduce inflammation and support blood vessel health. Drinking a cup of pomegranate juice daily has been associated in research with modest but real reductions in blood pressure. For older adults particularly, whose cardiovascular systems tend to be under increasing strain, that is not a small thing. The seeds, called arils, can be eaten directly or pressed for juice. They are sweet, tart, and very easy to add to yogurt, salads, or even just to eat by the handful. To juice them yourself, cut the fruit in half, hold it cut side down over a bowl, and firmly tap the back of the rind with a spoon to knock the seeds out. Blend the seeds briefly, then strain. A note worth making: pomegranates are high in natural sugar and potassium, so people with diabetes or kidney disease should check with their doctor about appropriate portion sizes. The fruit can also interact with certain blood pressure medications and cholesterol drugs, so if you take any of those, it is worth mentioning it to your pharmacist. Food number 3, Posca. This one will surprise most people, but it is arguably the most historically significant hydration drink in the ancient world. Posca was the everyday drink of Roman soldiers, a mixture of water, wine vinegar, a pinch of salt, and sometimes a handful of herbs. It was cheap, shelf-stable, and as it turned out, genuinely effective for hydration. Roman legions marched extraordinary distances through extreme heat on this drink, and modern science has started to explain why it worked. Posca is deeply connected to the biblical narrative. In John 19:29, at the crucifixion, soldiers offered sour wine, the Latin equivalent of Posca, to Jesus on a sponge. In the book of Ruth, Boaz invites Ruth to come and dip her bread in the vinegar at mealtimes, a social detail that reveals how common this drink was across all levels of ancient society. It was not punishment. It was everyday refreshment. The vinegar in Posca, particularly wine vinegar or apple cider vinegar, has genuine documented health effects. It has mild antimicrobial properties. It has been shown in multiple studies to help slow the rise in blood sugar after a carbohydrate-heavy meal, which is significant for anyone managing blood sugar. The acetic acid in vinegar stimulates the production of digestive enzymes and supports gut health, The vinegar also contains a small number of antioxidants, particularly when made from red wine. The salt in a properly made Posca replaces the sodium lost through sweat, making it genuinely useful for rehydration on a hot day. And the water is, of course, the foundation. To make your own version, mix 1 to 2 tablespoons of good apple cider vinegar or red wine vinegar into a large glass of cold water. Add a very small pinch of sea salt and a teaspoon of honey if you want to soften the sharpness. That is essentially what Roman soldiers drank every day. The honey adds a small glucose boost and also carries its own mild antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. It is surprisingly refreshing on a hot afternoon, and the slight sourness makes it effective at driving thirst away in a way plain water sometimes does not. One caution: because vinegar is acidic, drinking it undiluted can damage tooth enamel over time. Always dilute it well and consider drinking it through a straw. People with acid reflux or stomach ulcers should be careful, and if you are on medication for diabetes or blood pressure, check with your doctor first, as vinegar can enhance the effect of those drugs. Food number 4, honey melon. Honey melon, the broad family that includes cantaloupe, honeydew, and muskmelon, is one of the great underappreciated electrolyte foods of summer. Cantaloupe alone provides around 12% of your recommended daily potassium in a single cup serving, along with meaningful quantities of magnesium, calcium, and sodium. More importantly, it delivers those minerals in a package that is about 90% water, meaning it hydrates you at the same time it replenishes what you have lost. Melons appear throughout the ancient Near Eastern diet and are referenced in Numbers 11 when the Israelites list the foods of Egypt they are longing for during their desert wandering, melons among them. For people living in hot, dry climates with limited access to clean water, a melon was not just a luxury, it was a survival food. It provided fluids, minerals, and energy in a single portable package that required no preparation. Cantaloupe is also an impressive source of vitamin A, specifically beta-carotene, which the body converts to vitamin A as needed. A single cup provides more than 100% of the daily recommended amount. Beta-carotene is a powerful antioxidant that protects the eyes, supports the immune system, and helps maintain the skin's protective barrier. In summer, when UV exposure is highest, this is particularly relevant. Honeydew is a little sweeter and slightly lower in beta-carotene than cantaloupe, but equally hydrating and rich in potassium and vitamin C. Both are excellent choices. For a simple summer drink, blend a quarter of a ripe cantaloupe with a cup of cold water, a squeeze of lime, and a few mint leaves. Strain it if you like, chill it, and drink it slowly over the course of an hour or two. It replaces fluids and electrolytes gently and consistently, which is exactly what you want on a hot day. Alternatively, simply eating thick slices of chilled melon between meals is one of the easiest and most underrated hydration strategies available in summer. No preparation required beyond cutting and refrigerating. Those managing blood sugar should be aware that melons have a moderately high glycemic index, so portion size is worth considering. They are also a frequent source of salmonella contamination when pre-cut and left at room temperature, so always buy whole melons when possible and refrigerate leftovers promptly. Food number 5, grapes. Grapes may be the single most mentioned food or drink in the entire Bible. Vineyards appear in Genesis. The spies sent into Canaan return, carrying a single enormous cluster of grapes as evidence of the land's fertility. Jesus' first miracle is turning water into wine at Cana. The vine and its fruit are woven through nearly every book of Scripture as a symbol of provision, prosperity, and life. Fresh grapes are about 80 to 90% water and contain around 191 milligrams of potassium per 100 grams, alongside small amounts of magnesium and calcium. They also contain resveratrol, a polyphenol found primarily in the skin of red and purple grapes, which has attracted significant research attention for its potential protective effects against heart disease, certain cancers, and cognitive decline. What grapes offer in summer specifically is their combination of water, natural sugars for quick energy, and potassium for electrolyte balance. A handful of cold grapes straight from the refrigerator is one of the most refreshing things you can eat on a hot afternoon, and it hydrates you more effectively than many people realize. Raisins, dried grapes, are a more concentrated source of potassium. A small quarter-cup serving of raisins delivers around 310 to 315 milligrams of potassium in a compact, portable form. In antiquity, raisins were a staple travel food precisely because they lasted without refrigeration and delivered rapid energy and minerals when needed. In 1 Samuel 25, Abigail brings David provisions that include cakes of raisins, a detail that shows they were considered both nutritious and worth preserving. The fact that they appear in a military provision context tells you everything about how trusted they were as an energy and recovery food. To make a simple electrolyte grape drink, freeze a large bunch of red grapes and then blend them with cold water, a pinch of salt, and a squeeze of lemon. Strain and serve over ice. It is sweet, deeply hydrating, and far more nourishing than a commercial sports drink. Grapes and raisins are high in natural sugar, so people managing diabetes or blood sugar should moderate their portions. Raisins in particular are calorie-dense, so a small amount goes a long way. Food number 6, cucumbers. The cucumber is one of the most quietly effective hydration foods on Earth, and it appears in a moment of genuine biblical anguish. When the Israelites are struggling through the desert in Numbers 11, cucumbers are on the list of Egyptian foods they are desperately missing. This is not a trivial complaint. In a hot climate with limited clean water, a cucumber was one of the most reliable ways to stay hydrated between meals. The ancient Egyptians cultivated them extensively for exactly this reason. A cucumber is roughly 95% water. That alone makes it one of the most hydrating foods in existence. But it also contains around 170 milligrams of potassium per 100 grams and about 10 milligrams of magnesium, along with a small amount of calcium and vitamin K. The combination of high water content and these minerals makes cucumber one of the most effective natural tools for gentle, sustained hydration. Cucumber also contains a compound called silica, which supports connective tissue and skin health. In summer, when UV exposure and heat stress both put pressure on the skin, this is an additional benefit worth noting. The skin of the cucumber in particular is rich in vitamin K, which plays a role in blood clotting and bone metabolism. So, eating cucumbers with the skin on gives you more nutritional value. The simplest and most effective way to use cucumber as an electrolyte drink is to make cucumber water. Slice half a cucumber thinly, add it to a large pitcher of water, and leave it in the refrigerator for at least an hour. The minerals and flavor compounds leach gently into the water, producing a drink that is genuinely refreshing and more hydrating than plain water. Add a few mint leaves and a small pinch of sea salt to complete the electrolyte profile. Cucumber-infused water can be sipped throughout the day without any concern about sugar or excessive calories. It is one of the most accessible and affordable electrolyte drinks available, and it has been doing this job for several thousand years. For added variety, Add a few slices of lemon to the pitcher alongside the cucumber. This brings in vitamin C and a small additional hit of potassium. Some people also add a couple of fresh mint leaves for the cooling menthol effect, and a pinch of sea salt for sodium. Together, these four additions turn a simple glass of water into a genuinely complete natural electrolyte drink for very little effort or cost. Food number 7, dates. In the ancient world, the date palm was a tree of life in the most literal sense. It provided fruit that lasted without refrigeration for weeks or even months when dried. It provided shade in a treeless landscape where shade was survival. It provided a source of dense, portable nutrition for people traveling through heat. Soldiers, merchants, pilgrims, and nomads all relied on dates. The Bible mentions date palms repeatedly. The city of Jericho was called the City of Palms, and dates themselves were a foundational food across the entire Near Eastern world. Psalm 92 compares the righteous person to a flourishing date palm, which tells you how embedded this tree was in the cultural imagination of biblical people. The nutritional case for dates is remarkable. A single medjool date contains roughly 167 milligrams of potassium, more than a quarter of a banana by weight, and the electrolyte profile of a small handful of dates competes with most commercial energy products. More importantly, a serving of 3 to 4 dates delivers around 15% of your daily recommended potassium and magnesium, both of which are electrolytes frequently depleted in summer by sweat and inadequate diet. Dates are also exceptionally high in natural sugar, primarily glucose and fructose in a form the body absorbs readily, which makes them a rapid energy source. In cultures that practice fasting, dates are traditionally the first food eaten at the end of the fast for this reason. They bring blood sugar back up quickly and gently. In summer, when heat and activity can drain your energy reserves, a couple of dates in the late afternoon provides a fast, effective lift without the crash that comes from processed sugar. Beyond electrolytes, dates are one of the better plant-based sources of fiber, with around 7 grams per serving, and they contain antioxidants including flavonoids and phenolic acids that have anti-inflammatory effects. Research has suggested benefits for brain health, digestive health, and heart function. Some small studies have also found that regular date consumption may improve cholesterol profiles, with reductions in LDL, the kind associated with arterial plaque, when eaten as part of a balanced diet. Because they are very high in natural sugar, people with diabetes should keep portions moderate and check with their doctor about how dates fit into their eating plan. People with kidney disease should also be aware of the high potassium content. For a simple summer drink, blend 3 or 4 pitted medjool dates with a cup of cold water, a small pinch of sea salt, and a pinch of cinnamon. Strain it if you like, or leave it thick. It is natural, sweet, and nourishing. Food number 8, barley water. Barley is one of the most ancient cultivated grains in human history, and it appears throughout the Old Testament as a staple food of the common people. Ruth gleans barley from Boaz's fields in the book of Ruth. She is a foreigner and a widow, and the fact that she is gleaning barley tells you that barley was the crop that sustained those without resources. Gideon has a dream involving a barley loaf. In the feeding of the 5,000 as described in John's Gospel, it is 5 barley loaves that are multiplied. Barley was cheap, abundant, and deeply sustaining, and barley water, the liquid produced by simmering it, has been used as a healing and hydrating drink for thousands of years across ancient Greece, Rome, and the Near East. What barley releases into water when cooked is a collection of minerals and a particularly useful form of soluble fiber called beta-glucan. Barley water is a genuine source of potassium, magnesium, and calcium, the exact electrolytes that tend to deplete in summer. The potassium content supports healthy blood pressure, the magnesium supports muscle relaxation and sleep quality, and the calcium contributes to bone health. Together, they make barley water a quiet but effective daily hydration drink. The beta-glucan fiber in barley has one of the strongest evidence bases of any dietary fiber for lowering LDL cholesterol, the kind associated with heart disease, and for stabilizing blood sugar by slowing the absorption of carbohydrates into the bloodstream. For older adults managing cholesterol or blood sugar, adding barley water to the daily routine is a genuinely evidence-backed intervention. Barley water is also naturally soothing to the digestive system and has traditionally been used to calm urinary irritation and support kidney function. Whether by design or happy accident, ancient medicine was using it appropriately. To make it, rinse a quarter cup of pearl barley and simmer it in 4 to 5 cups of water for about 30 minutes. Strain out the grains. You can eat them separately as part of a meal or a soup, and let the liquid cool. Add a squeeze of lemon and a little honey to taste. Drink it cool or at room temperature throughout the day. It keeps in the refrigerator for 2 to 3 days. Some people add a stick of cinnamon to the simmering water for flavor and the additional blood sugar stabilizing benefit that cinnamon may provide. The resulting drink is gentle, slightly nutty, and easy on the stomach. People with celiac disease or a severe gluten intolerance should avoid barley as it contains gluten. Food number 9, figs. Figs appear in the Garden of Eden. They appear under the fig tree of the prophet Micah's vision of peace. And they appear when Hezekiah is healed in 2 Kings 20 by having a poultice of figs applied to his infected wound. Isaiah uses the fig tree as a symbol of national judgment. Jesus curses an unproductive fig tree in the Gospels as a symbol of spiritual barrenness. No single fruit carries as much biblical weight as the fig, and the nutritional case is strong. Dried figs are among the most mineral-dense fruits available. 6 dried figs deliver around 7% of your daily potassium, 8% of your daily magnesium, and 6% of your daily calcium, all 3 of which are primary electrolytes lost through sweat. The combination in a single small serving is unusual. Fresh figs offer similar benefits in higher water content form. 3 medium fresh figs provide around 350 milligrams of potassium and meaningful amounts of magnesium. Figs are also an exceptional source of calcium for people who do not eat dairy. Some research suggests that the calcium in figs is reasonably well absorbed, making them genuinely useful for bone health. This matters particularly for older adults, where bone density is a pressing concern. The fiber in figs supports digestion. Figs have historically been known as a natural, gentle laxative, and the antioxidants, including beta-carotene and vitamin C in fresh figs, contribute to immune health and cellular protection. To get more figs into your summer routine, keep a supply of dried figs as a daily snack. A handful in the afternoon with a glass of water is a simple, effective electrolyte strategy. Fresh figs can be sliced over yogurt, eaten with a little soft cheese and honey, or simply eaten whole as a sweet mineral-rich snack. A few dried figs with a glass of water and a small handful of almonds in the afternoon covers potassium, magnesium, and calcium simultaneously. An electrolyte combination that takes less than a minute to prepare and costs very little. One note: figs contain a compound called oxalate in moderate amounts, and people prone to kidney stones, particularly calcium oxalate stones, should be aware of this and speak with their doctor about appropriate amounts. Dried figs are also high in sugar, so people with diabetes should keep portions moderate. Figs also contain vitamin K, which can interact with blood-thinning medications like warfarin, so anyone on that class of drug should mention their fig consumption to their doctor. Food number 10. Coconut water. Coconut is not explicitly named in the Bible, but the coconut palm has grown in and around the ancient Near Eastern and African trade world for thousands of years, and coconut water has been used as a traditional hydration drink across equatorial cultures for longer than written history records. More to the point, nothing on this list better illustrates the principle that nature provides exactly what the body needs. Coconut water is one of the closest things in the natural world to a formulated electrolyte drink. A single cup of fresh coconut water contains approximately 470 to 600 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium, 58 milligrams of calcium, and 30 milligrams of sodium. That is a potassium content that comfortably exceeds a banana, a magnesium level that makes a real dent in your daily requirement, and enough sodium to help the body retain the fluid it is absorbing. The package also comes with modest natural sugars for energy without the excessive sugar load of commercial sports drinks. Research has confirmed what traditional medicine long assumed. Coconut water is effective at rehydrating the body after moderate exercise or heat exposure, and can match commercial sports drinks for electrolyte replacement in most everyday situations. A study on cyclists found that those who drank coconut water maintained hydration and electrolyte levels comparable to those drinking a standard sports drink. Coconut water is also low in calories, around 45 calories per cup, and free from artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives, making it one of the cleanest ready-to-drink electrolyte options available. For older adults who find commercial sports drinks unpleasantly sweet or chemically tasting, coconut water offers a natural alternative that most people find genuinely pleasant to drink. If you find plain coconut water too sweet or slightly odd in flavor, try adding it to a fruit smoothie or mixing it with a splash of lime and a pinch of salt. Always choose unsweetened, 100% coconut water to avoid unnecessary added sugars. People with kidney disease need to be careful here. Because coconut water is very high in potassium, those on dialysis or with restricted potassium diets should check with their doctor before drinking it regularly. People on blood pressure medications should also mention it to their doctor, as the high potassium can interact with certain drugs. Food number 11, olives. No food is more thoroughly biblical than the olive. The dove that returns to Noah's ark carries an olive branch. The oil that anointed kings was olive oil. Gethsemane, the garden where Jesus prayed the night before his death, means oil press. The olive tree is a symbol of peace, abundance, and the presence of God throughout Scripture. And the olive itself, small and humble as it looks, is actually a meaningful electrolyte source that does something almost none of the other foods on this list does. It provides sodium. In summer, sodium is the electrolyte that most people lose in the highest quantities through sweat. Most of the other fruits and vegetables on this list are naturally low in sodium, which is usually a good thing for daily health. But if you have been outside in the heat for hours and you are sweating heavily, you genuinely need to replace some sodium, or the other electrolytes you are consuming cannot do their job properly. Olives, with around 735 milligrams of sodium per 100 grams, are one of the most concentrated natural sources of sodium available, alongside the potassium, calcium, and monounsaturated fats that make them additionally valuable. Those healthy fats in olives, primarily oleic acid, the same fat found in olive oil, have a strong evidence base for supporting cardiovascular health, reducing inflammation, and protecting the lining of blood vessels. This is not incidental. It is one of the primary reasons the Mediterranean diet, which is built around olives and olive oil, shows such consistent benefits for heart health in large population studies. Olives also contain vitamin E, one of the most effective antioxidants for protecting cell membranes from damage. To use olives as part of your summer electrolyte strategy, eat a small handful of good quality olives with your meals during hot days. A few olives provide a meaningful sodium contribution without the excessive sodium of processed foods. If you can find naturally cured olives rather than the industrial kind packed in artificial brine, those are nutritionally preferable. A word of moderation. While olives are healthy, they are high in sodium, and people managing high blood pressure or on sodium-restricted diets should keep their olive consumption moderate and talk to their doctor. Food number 12, flax seeds. Flax is one of the oldest cultivated plants in human history, predating most other crops by thousands of years. Ancient Egyptians wove linen from flax fibers and pressed the seeds for oil. And it is that same Egyptian flax crop that appears in Exodus during the plagues. In Proverbs 31, the description of the capable wife includes her working with flax. Flaxseed has been consumed and used medicinally since at least 3000 BC and is referenced in ancient texts across the Near Eastern world. The dietary tradition that the Bible describes was a tradition in which flax would have been a familiar and valued part of the food supply. The mineral content of flax seeds is genuinely impressive. Ground flaxseed contains substantial magnesium, around 27 to 30 milligrams per tablespoon, alongside potassium, calcium, and phosphorus, all of which function as electrolytes in the body. Flax seeds are also among the richest plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids in the form of ALA, which the body uses to manage inflammation. Chronic inflammation is one of the primary drivers of fatigue, joint pain, and cardiovascular disease, and reducing it consistently has broad effects on how the body feels and functions. Flax seeds are also extraordinarily rich in lignans, a type of plant compound that has antioxidant properties and has been studied for potential benefits related to hormone balance and a reduced risk of hormone-sensitive cancers. They are one of the richest food sources of lignans in the human diet. 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed stirred into water with a little lemon, and honey is a simple, effective way to get these benefits. When you do this, the ground flaxseed releases a slightly gelatinous, fiber-rich liquid that is mild in taste and easy to drink. You can also add ground flaxseed to smoothies, oatmeal, yogurt, or baked goods. The key word is ground. Whole flax seeds pass through the digestive system largely undigested, so grinding them is essential to access their nutrients. People on blood-thinning medications should be aware that flaxseed may have a mild blood-thinning effect and should mention it to their doctor. Women with hormone-sensitive conditions should also check with a doctor before using flax seeds in large quantities. Food number 13, goat's milk. Throughout the Old and New Testaments, the land of milk and honey is not cow's milk being described. It is far more likely to be goat's milk. Goats were the primary dairy animal of the ancient Near East. They were smaller, easier to keep, and far more adaptable to arid landscapes than cattle. Proverbs 27:27 specifically says that goat's milk is sufficient to feed your household and provide nourishment for your servants. It was the everyday milk of biblical people. And it turns out, goat's milk is nutritionally superior to cow's milk in several meaningful ways. A single cup provides 327 milligrams of calcium, 498 milligrams of potassium, and 34 milligrams of magnesium, all three of which are primary electrolytes, and all three of which are present at higher levels than in an equivalent serving of cow's milk. The calcium content alone is impressive, higher than cow's milk, and in a form that research suggests may be more bioavailable, meaning the body absorbs and uses it more efficiently. The fat structure of goat's milk is also different from cow's milk. The fat globules are smaller, which makes them easier to digest. Goat's milk contains mostly A2 casein protein rather than the A1 casein that predominates in most commercial cow's milk. And some research suggests that A2 casein causes less digestive irritation for people who struggle with cow's milk. It also has slightly less lactose than cow's milk, which means some people who cannot tolerate cow's milk comfortably find goat's milk easier on the stomach, though it is not lactose-free and is not suitable for those with a true lactose intolerance. Early studies also suggest that the iron, calcium, and magnesium in goat's milk may be more readily absorbed by the body than from cow's milk, which is particularly relevant for older adults whose nutrient absorption can become less efficient with age. In hot summer weather, a cold glass of goat's milk provides fluids, protein, and a well-rounded electrolyte hid in one serving. It can be drunk straight, used in smoothies, or made into a simple yogurt. If fresh goat's milk is difficult to find locally, goat's milk products including yogurt and soft cheese are widely available and carry many of the same benefits. People with a known milk allergy, as opposed to lactose intolerance, should be aware that goat's milk contains many of the same proteins as cow's milk and can trigger similar allergic reactions. Food number 14. Almonds. Almonds appear in the Bible in a moment that is specific and unusual. When Jacob sends his sons to Egypt to buy food during the famine, he instructs them to bring gifts for the Egyptian official, and among the gifts he chooses are almonds. This is significant because almonds would have been considered a luxury item, something valuable enough to give as a formal present. In number 17, the rod of Aaron miraculously blossoms overnight into almond flowers and ripe almonds as a sign of divine favor. This is a people who understood the almond's value. The mineral content of almonds makes them one of the most potent, electrolyte-dense foods that fits in the palm of your hand. A single 1-ounce serving, about 23 almonds, provides approximately 76 milligrams of magnesium, 76 milligrams of calcium, 208 milligrams of potassium, and meaningful phosphorus. That magnesium content is particularly notable. Magnesium is one of the most common mineral deficiencies in Western diets, and it is associated with muscle cramps, poor sleep quality, anxiety, elevated blood pressure, and fatigue, all things that get worse in summer when the body is under heat stress. Almonds are also a strong source of vitamin E, one of the most effective antioxidants for protecting cell membranes from oxidative damage, and they contain heart-healthy monounsaturated fats that help manage cholesterol and support sustained energy. Their fiber content slows digestion, which prevents blood sugar spikes and keeps you feeling fuller for longer on a hot day when appetite can be unreliable. The simplest approach is to eat a small daily handful of unsalted almonds as a snack, morning or mid-afternoon. You can also make almond milk at home by blending soaked almonds with water and straining through a cloth, which produces a naturally mineral-rich drink. Almond butter on whole grain bread is another excellent way to get these electrolytes into your routine without much effort. On very hot days, a small handful of almonds with a glass of water and a piece of fruit is a remarkably complete snack for maintaining energy and electrolyte levels. People with tree nut allergies should obviously avoid almonds. And because almonds are calorie-dense, portion discipline matters. A handful a day is beneficial. Several handfuls start to add up. Food number 15, mint-infused water. And here is the one that surprises people. Mint. Not a supplement, not a superberry from some remote location, but mint, the herb that grows in gardens and windowsills across the world, and that appears in the Bible in a moment of surprising specificity. In Matthew 23, Jesus rebukes the Pharisees for carefully tithing their mint, dill, and cumin, while neglecting the weightier matters of justice and mercy. The fact that mint was tithed, that it was regulated as part of the economic and religious system, tells you that mint was a valuable commodity in the ancient world. People grew it deliberately. It had real worth. And the reason people have used mint-infused water for thousands of years is not merely the taste. Mint contains natural electrolytes and minerals, including small amounts of potassium, calcium, and magnesium. More practically, it contains menthol, a compound that creates a cooling sensation in the mouth and throat by activating cold-sensitive receptors, which means mint water actively makes you feel cooler even when the temperature has not changed. In the heat of a Middle Eastern summer, this was not a trivial effect. Mint also has well-documented benefits for digestion. Menthol relaxes the muscles of the gastrointestinal tract, reducing bloating, cramps, and discomfort. Studies have shown that peppermint oil can relieve symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome, and while mint water is less concentrated, regular consumption genuinely supports digestive comfort. In summer, when diet often shifts to more fruit and lighter foods that can sometimes cause digestive sensitivity, this is an additional benefit. The anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties of mint support immune function, and the antioxidants in mint leaves contribute to the body's defenses against oxidative stress, the cellular damage that accumulates from UV exposure, heat, and general environmental stress. Peppermint in particular contains rosmarinic acid, a compound with notably strong antioxidant activity, and regular consumption of mint-infused water over a hot summer gives the body a consistent supply of these protective plant compounds at essentially no cost. To make mint-infused water, take a good handful of fresh mint leaves. Bruise them lightly by pressing them between your hands to release the oils, and add them to a large pitcher of cold water. Let it infuse in the refrigerator for at least an hour before drinking. Add sliced cucumber, a squeeze of lemon, and a tiny pinch of sea salt to create a genuinely effective natural electrolyte drink that costs almost nothing and takes almost no preparation. Drink it throughout the day to stay hydrated, support digestion, and keep yourself feeling cool even when the summer heat says otherwise. Mint is very well tolerated by most people, though those with gastroesophageal reflux disease, acid reflux, should be cautious, as mint can relax the valve that prevents acid from coming back up and may worsen symptoms in some individuals. So, those are 15 biblical electrolyte bombs that deserve a place in your summer diet. All of them are real foods that real people in the ancient world ate and drank to keep themselves going through conditions far more demanding than most of us face today. And the fact that modern science confirms their value is not a coincidence. It is evidence that traditional diets, built over thousands of years of lived experience, got many things right. My personal favorite on this list is barley water. It is unglamorous, it is old-fashioned, and it is genuinely one of the most effective and underappreciated hydration drinks you can make at home for almost no cost. The beta-glucan alone makes it worth the 30 minutes it takes to prepare. As always, and I cannot say this clearly enough, None of this video replaces advice from a real doctor or healthcare professional. If you have a chronic health condition, kidney disease, diabetes, heart problems, or if you take any regular medication, please speak with your doctor before making significant changes to your diet. These foods are powerful, and for most people, they are entirely beneficial, but they are not a substitute for professional medical guidance. Take care of yourselves, drink plenty of water, and eat well this summer.